小伙伴们好，今天良言良语节目介绍几款最受欢迎的英语新闻频道，供爱学英语的小伙伴们参考和学习。CTV News 是加拿大电视频道的缩写。CTV 新闻频道是由拜耳媒体拥有的加拿大专业新闻频道，它广播的内容包括加拿大国内和国际新闻头条、突发新闻和信息。该频道的总部位于多伦多士嘉堡。
We really need to keep protecting people out there until they get all vaccinated, those who want to be. Get them all vaccinated. We all still need to be masking, hand washing, distancing, or very quickly, a few vaccines are going to make people forget that we need to keep going. This is not the time to even, in my opinion, to have the discussion about how groups change their activities. It's keeping going and getting better at flattening the curve in Canada for another few months before we even think that the vaccine will have an effect.
CBC News 以前称为 CBC Newsworld， 是加拿大广播公司 CBC 拥有的加拿大英语专业新闻频道。它向加拿大超过1000万个家庭进行广播。在美国，它是仅次于美国的 CNN 和英国的 Sky News， 是世界上同类电视中第3大、历史悠久的电视服务业。
President says that the first shot would be administered in less than 24 hours.
Our nation has achieved a medical miracle. We have delivered a safe and effective vaccine in just 9 months. This is one of the greatest scientific accomplishments in history. It will save millions of lives and
Global News 是加拿大全球电视网的新闻和时事部门，该网络由 Corus Entertainment 拥有。该公司负责监督该网络的所有国家新闻节目，以及其21个拥有和运营的电台的本地新闻。
There are opportunities for companies in this country to think even more globally than they currently do. And at the moment, people have been very confined to their ideas. They're keeping their ideas very much confined to the European market. They might want to be much more global.
The 27 EU nation leaders were briefed Thursday on the state of negotiations and told talks could end Sunday.
We are preparing for the worst, hoping for the best, and now it seems difficult. It's a difficult situation.
If the year ends without a deal, goods may no longer smoothly move across borders. There are fears of food shortages, new taxes, and undue pressure on an already depressed economy. Crystal Gamansing, Global News, London.
有线新闻网 CNN 是 CNN Worldwide 旗下的美国新闻付费电视频道。截至2018年9月 ，CNN 在美国拥有9010万电视用户，占有线家庭的97.7%。在2019年 ，CNN 在有线电视新闻网络的收视率方面排名第3，仅次于 Fox News 和 MSNBC， 平均972000位观众。CNN 在所有基本有线电视网络中排名第14位。
Authorized under emergency use, which means that the vaccine itself, which has largely been in these cold storage in Kalamazoo, Michigan, will start to get distributed all over the country, various locations all over the country. At the same time, almost simultaneously this weekend, now that it's been authorized, the CDC is going to make the formal recommendation, sort of what you were just talking about, Chris, the who, what, when of the vaccine. There's a lot here. I'm just reading the FDA notice here specifically.
I know, they're printing it out for me. That's what you hear behind me. I don't know why they're printing it out for me. It's not like I can read it right now. But what are the high points?
The basic thing is it talks about the fact that, it reviewed the entire application.
NBC News 是美国广播电视网络 NBC 的新闻部门，该部门下运行 NBC 环球新闻集团的一个部门 NBC 环球。NBC 环球新闻组还包括 MSNBC， 该网络的24小时普通新闻频道、商业和消费者新闻频道 CNBC 和 CNBC World。
Gas emissions, leaving a visible mark on the environment. The question now, as we near the end of the year, will there be a lasting impact on the climate? The answer? Maybe. Bloomberg New Energy Finance recently came out with a report studying U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, finding they'll be slashed by an estimated 9% by the end of this year, the lowest level in nearly 30 years. What factors did you include in this study?
It has pretty much everything that's a part of the US economy. So that includes the power that we use, the energy that we use in transport. It includes the emissions that come about as a byproduct of industrial processes. And we also had a section looking at the emissions from forest fires.
Fox News Channel 简称 FNC， 俗称 Fox， 是美国跨国保守派有线电视新闻频道，它由 Fox News Media 拥有。它的总部在纽约市。Fox News 为全球86个国家和地区提供服务。有批评者认为，该频道的政党间偏见性报道不利于整体新闻的完整性。福克斯新闻的官方立场是，新闻报道的运作独立于其意见和评论节目，并且否认了新闻频道的偏见。
That's Miranda Devine. Hey, Miranda.
Hi, Ainsley. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. When you look at what the media's coverage of that, I mean, he's talking about details of Joe Biden knowing about his son's business dealings and Joe Biden's influence and involvement in this. And the media barely covered it. Look at that. MSNBC, a little more than a minute. CNN, 0. ABC, 0. NBC, 1:30 about. And CBS, 0 minutes. Fox covered it. But this was extremely important, especially before an election.
Well, exactly. The New York Post story broke on October 14, which is more than 2 weeks before the election. It should have been covered, and instead it was actively suppressed. It was ignored. We heard Project Veritas had these CNN morning news conference meetings that were leaked, and in there they said, look, we're not going to cover this. They were proud of it because they said there's nothing new in the New York Post's information. Well, there was a lot of new stuff in what we published from Hunter Biden's laptop, and that included, for the very first time, evidence that the Vice President, then Vice President Joe Biden, knew about what was going on with his family's influence peddling schemes around the world and was actively involved. Now, we published an email to that effect, and later on Tony Bobulinski backed that up with further evidence of his own. All of that was a story, and yet you had not just active suppression, but you had big tech locking our Twitter.
BBC 新闻是英国广播公司的运营业务部门，负责新闻和时事的收集和广播。该部门是世界上最大的广播新闻组织，每天产生约120小时的广播和电视输出，以及在线新闻报道。
Following their approval by regulators on Friday, the authorities say they'll start vaccinations on Monday. 7 aid trucks belonging to the International Committee of the Red Cross have arrived in the capital of Ethiopia's Tigray province. It's the first international assistance since fighting broke out more than a month ago. And talks between the UK and the EU are continuing in Brussels on a post-Brexit trade and partnership deal. Britain is also ramping up preparations for a no deal, with 4 naval vessels on standby to protect fishing waters.
Sky News 是英国免费的电视新闻频道和组织。Sky News 是通过广播新闻服务和在线渠道发布的。它是直播世界新闻的提供商，可以提供其网站、YouTube 以及各种移动设备和数字媒体播放器进行查看。
First, the process by which, for centuries, humanity has been quilting our planet in a toxic teacozy of greenhouse gases.
好，小伙伴们，你喜欢哪个频道，或者除此之外的其他频道，欢迎留言告诉我。